What's up, Brad? How's it going today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm very good. Are you training today? I'm thinking it's a Saturday. It's Friday.
I'll still be training today. I'll still be doing something.
Something,
Every
yeah,
day,
yeah.
do
Cool.
something for sure.
Every day. Can you tell me your first and last name, and then tell us like the name of the academy, where you guys are, and just tell us like what you guys offer there, the types of classes.
My name is Bradley Barnes. I own and head coach for Midland Jiu Jitsu in Midland, Texas. So we're in West Texas, the Permian Basin, big oil field area. And class wise, I started out in MMA, so there's a big MMA base for the way that we do stuff. So it's MMA, Jiu Jitsu with the gi, no gi submission grappling. We have wrestling classes. And the thing that kind of sets us apart from everywhere else is I have a law enforcement background, so I teach weapon-based entanglements. So actually, using tools and everything in day-to-day realistic form. So it's a lot more complete program for people that are really getting into the self-defense side of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard. I mean, I know it exists. Other places like like using tools to mimic weapons, if you will. Is that what you're saying? You're using
We're
like
not mimicking
objects.
anything. We're making our firearms safe, and we're putting them in our clothes, like everyday street clothes wear or BDUs, shorts, whatever. Women that come in there and wear them, use their handguns, deploying from a purse, and we say, let's see if you can do this under stress. And we start doing skill building exercises to build from there. We do stuff with edge weapons because in West Texas or really anywhere, I've never seen a guy walking around with a pair of jeans that didn't have a knife hanging out in the pocket. So it's
Oh,
a really,
really?
yeah. I mean,
I wouldn't
if you
know.
really
Yeah.
get down to it, yeah, all fights are a drag race to a tool. So just teaching people how to punch and kick and wrestle is great, but what if that's kind of the thing we're building against.
Yeah, the next question I was going to ask, like, what kind of objects are you using to mimic the weapon? So,
Yeah,
okay, got it.
we're using trainer blades, and we're using either like blue guns, simunition guns, or we'll use like if someone has like if you got like a sig fuse or something, we'll just pull all the live ammo, no mags allowed in the building, and then we'll flag it and make it safe, and then we'll start working on how to draw, whether it's from concealment or for my cops that are in there, like draw from a duty rig.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, man, that's interesting. Glad we get this perspective a little bit. I haven't got into that at all yet. So cool. Can you tell us like the lowest stage and the highest stage that you've taught? And you don't even have to name names. I'm just kind of an interesting point. Like some people watching think they're too old because they're in
Yeah.
their 30s or something. So I always mention that.
The gym, we cater to all levels. So we got a little ninjas program that's 4, 5, and 6 year olds. Um, and then we go up through where I've coached guys in the UFC, Bellator, Ryzen. I've coached people on ESPN, on HNet fights, on pay per view. Um, I've done stuff with the federal government, with the federal law enforcement training facility in South Carolina. So working with the Coast Guard and U.S. Marshals and federal probation officers and stuff. So tactical units. So everything kind of in between, from little kids that are just trying to do something that's disciplined and get them focused and get them physically active, to like your soccer moms that need some self-defense, to the like former
Um,
weekend warrior, dads that are just trying to get rid of the dad bod and get back in better shape, make themselves more dangerous, all the way through professional fighters at high levels. And operators. So I've gotten blessed with the opportunity to be able to teach all kinds of people.
cool, cool. And what's your like overall philosophy in teaching? Is there something that kind of in your mind makes it a little bit unique, a little different?
I don't think anybody's doing anything unique or different. I mean, fighting's been going on since the dawn of time. Everybody's been fighting. No one's reinventing the wheel. The same submissions we're grabbing on people today are on cave paintings and carved into, vases and architecture. So it's nothing new, but I just really I feel drawn to being able to teach good people how to do bad shit to bad people.
Yeah, yeah, I get it, man. Uh, take us back as far back as you want. Let us know like how you got into it. And then like, why did you enjoy it and what kind of made that spark go off and why did you continue to do it?
My first, like most people, my first introduction to martial arts was like traditional martial arts, so karate, taekwondo. Um, did the whole showed up 2 days a week, broke a fake board, learned how to fight an invisible person fighting from all corners around me, and then got a belt, and then did the next one, did the next one. Um, it didn't really didn't really do much for me
What
other than
age
it,
was that for you?
I believe I started doing that when I was 9 or 10, I think.
Got it.
There was a need there from I was having issues with abuse, so I had growing up had some childhood sexual abuse, and had issues with bullying. I was a fat kid, still an adult, a fat adult, I think, but
I think
the
okay.
the
Don't we all think that?
So there was definitely a need, but that did not fix the need because at the end of the day, we're lying to kids in general. We shouldn't lie to anybody, and why are we going to lie to kids and give them false hope about the effectiveness of martial arts? Telling me you can stand
Yeah.
still and horse stance and roof block, and someone can't hit you, and things like that. You never
Yeah.
address it if someone grabs you, if someone's holding you down, if someone's pinning you. So I didn't know those things, that was something to worry about. I couldn't articulate that. But then as I got older, um, I saw UFC videos in Blockbuster, in Hollywood Video, and rented those and watched those and stuff. And by the time I was graduating high school, so I was 18, I had my first professional, not MMA. Back then it was shoot fighting or NHB fighting. Had my first professional match in August of 2000, so 3 months after graduating high school, and I was off to the races from there.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
And
that was like getting into what I wanted to do, but I did it backwards because I didn't train. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just like, I want to do that. They're in Odessa. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Um, so
how did it
did
go? Your first match.
First match, the guy left in the C collar on a stretcher. So I think I did pretty good. You know, it was pretty awesome. I was the youngest guy there. I mean, at 18 years old, the next youngest guy is the guy I fought. They matched us up together, and he was 23. So
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, I
Wow.
was I was
At that age, it's
definitely
a big difference. Yeah.
a huge difference.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any real training or anything. I messed around, done what we now look at as like, oh, that's such a waste of time, which is just mess around with your friends in a
Mm.
room with a floor. And that's nowadays people don't have to do that. But back when I started doing this, there were no jiu-jitsu schools, there were no MMA schools. There would, you'd have to drive from Midland to Dallas to go train with Carlos
Okay.
Machado. Or you'd have to drive from Midland to Houston to go train with Saul Solis and the Team Punishment guys when they'd go down there. So it was definitely a learning curve back in those old days.
Around what year was this?
So that was 2000 through 2000 and 2000 through 2001. So that first year, it was just, let me figure this out as I go, just fighting. And then
Yeah.
after that, had a group of guys. It was myself and three other guys as the core group that we would get together at a 24-hour fitness. They had an aerobics room with a padded floor, and they allowed us to use that facility whenever there was no classes going on and get training in. And so we'd, put Pantera on the stereo and go in there and like touch your toes, stand up, and start throwing at each other. It was not organized. It wasn't good, but it was something. It was a base. It was the beginning of something.
Did you want to like get into fighting in any way? Or were you drawn to like martial arts when you were really little? Like talking 4 to 9?
No, I mean, with me being younger, I mean, just, and this kind of has to go with like the abuse stuff. My wife kind of joke. It's not funny, but I mean, at the same time, we kind of joke with each other that there's things childhood wise sequence of events. just kind of don't remember how those things went because there's some things, you try to block out or mask or, avoid. So I don't really remember much younger than that especially as far as getting involved with any kind of sports or anything. I was basically my mom and dad got divorced at a young age, so I had to just go with my mom to her job, and she's a workaholic, so I would be at the place with her all the time, and then she would maybe get me into, you know, the typical youth stuff. We're going to do youth soccer at the YMCA. We're going to do flag football, things like that. Um, but the martial art thing was never really a drive until her business got put in right by a place where there was a taekwondo studio in the shopping center, and then that's when all right, well, it's a good place for him to spend an hour, and we're going to be here till 9 p.m. after he gets out of school at 3, so let's do this.
Do you think it helped you? I mean, I don't think you were thinking of it at that age, but do you think it kind of helped you, like dealing with the conflict that you had to deal with?
I honestly don't think so. I think that's a key component that's missing uh from a lot of traditional martial arts is there's not that inherent struggle part of it where you get to gain
Yeah.
confidence through competence. You don't have to do that. The model for those is show up, be rewarded. and
Mm.
and and maybe that's why I didn't really feel, I never really, looking back on it, got anything out of it, because I was being given something that I wasn't really earning. Like they had me to go break the fake little board you're supposed to break, and it's got the little snap grooves and everything in it, and I was just like, this is number one, I couldn't do it the first time, and I got mad at myself, and I thought I was a piece of crap because I couldn't do it, because I knew it was fake, it wasn't real, and then I finally did it, and then it was, all right, well, good job, here's your belt, and it took me like 30 tries. Like I wouldn't give someone a promotion if it took them 30 tries to get a job right. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I would say,
Yeah.
hey, let's revisit this when you're able to get this and be efficient at it, be good at it. But that just wasn't the tone of the martial art world at the time. And I still think, especially for a lot of martial arts and even jujitsu nowadays, is kind of like that. It's very much, hey, you showed up. That's good enough for us. Your parents' check cleared, so you get to be rewarded for that. Whereas I feel like I get a lot out of wrestling, out of Muay Thai, out of jujitsu, because there's the failure part of it, but you don't have the failure in art. Well, just go back to the end of the line and you did a great job. It's, you are at the end of the line until you do a better job, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Do you think that the taekwondo taught you maybe control, or is
I,
there anything that you think you did get out of it?
I honestly don't think that I got anything. I didn't have a good time. I got out of it. I got to watch, The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy. I got to watch that one, where he catches the bullet in his mouth, and then I got to watch Three Ninjas, uh, at some lock-ins, and then I got to get kicked in the stomach and the groin by like teenagers and 14 and 15-year-olds that were still in the kids class. That's what I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
out of
yeah.
it, you know?
For you,
So
that was your experience.
yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
got
that
out of it. Yeah,
wasn't anything for
not
me
much
that
of
I
anything.
really can write home about for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, when did the like fast forwarding? When did the jiu-jitsu come into play with the MMA?
So the guy that taught us first, his name was Clint Watts. He was a Lions Den guy. So shoot fighting, and it was very, very basic stuff. It was, double leg, single leg, suplex, lateral drop,
What is
and then
shoot fighting? What is that?
so basically, like what MMA is today is what we used to call it back before there was the term MMA. MMA as a term didn't really even get coined until like 2004.
Okay.
So all that touched up about 1993 when they had the first UFC. Through that time, it was called shoot fighting. It was called NHB fighting, no holds barred. It was called full contact fighting. It was called Vale Tudo fighting, and all that was this is the same thing to refer to
I
the same
understand.
ways to do it. Um,
Okay.
and everything was real basic. There'd be guys that had some high school or collegiate wrestling experience that just knew drag them down to the mat, hold them down, punch them, elbow them, headbutt them. Back then we could do headbutts and stuff. There was no gloves when we started doing it. You could choose to wear gloves. So it was, and even like the grappling side of it with submissions is very, very basic. It was good. It's still stuff we use every single day, but it was just guillotine, rear naked choke, Americana. You know, there'd be like a straight ankle
Yeah.
lock in there, maybe a toe hold or something, but it was very much like a catch wrestling mentality, but just distilled down to this is all I can afford to do in a fight without making a mistake, because as soon as someone gets out of this, we're back in a scramble and I don't want to get kicked in the face, punched, elbowed, kneed, whatever. So everything was very safe.
No more technical than that as far as grappling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very simple. There were guys obviously that were fighting off their back and emulating the Hoist Gracie side of it, where I can be underneath somebody and I can keep myself safe, but also didn't have access to high level jiu-jitsu then. So it's how am I supposed to build these skills to get good in the worst spot if I can't get really good in a good spot yet? So there was this kind of hierarchy of needs.
And sorry, I forgot. Were you traveling to Dallas or for that, or was this in Midland?
So we're in Midland. The guy because we're an oil filled community, like it was very
Yeah.
nomadic. So you get people from other states or people that train at gyms or people. There's been guys, Daryl Golar before he passed. Daryl Golar trained like the Brazilian top team guys like Murilo Bustamante and Vitor Belfort and the Nogueira brothers. Like he was in Midland, Texas, working for an oil company for a little while. He'd stop in. Jeff Monson, the snowman from American Top Team, like ADCC guy, UFC vet. His daughter played at Midland College, so he stopped into Midland, Odessa, do stuff because his daughter was on a softball team. So it's always been pretty nomadic. So it's been really good to have access to stuff. But for us to get better, it was literally let's go order some VHS tapes of Mario Sperry, beating someone up and kind of figure out through his broken English what we're supposed to do. And that was how we learned is
Yeah.
we'd watch VHS tapes, do the moves on each other, and then I'd go bounce at the club. And then as soon as someone did something where I could justify it, like, oh, let me try this,
Yeah.
that was
A
that
little
was
bit of
my
this, a little bit of that. Yeah.
yeah, so that was my like on the job training, which was great because that's when I really just go, man, this is an absolute superpower. This is a cheat code because I'm fighting guys that they don't even know how to take a stance correctly. And then I blast them with a kick, in the legs, or they don't know how to take a stance correctly. And I jab at them a couple times consecutively, not throwing the crazy haymakers, shooting doubles and singles on people, clinching with people, picking them up and dropping them, getting on top of them and stuff. Like it just made things so easy that it's almost like it took an element of violence out of the violence, if that makes sense.
Yes. Right. 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 So I mean, what about jujitsu? I mean, what really hooked you about it? What what intrigued you about it?
So many things. It's number one, I've always had a personal grudge against the naturally gifted athlete, you know.
Yeah.
Um, the guy that can grab a skateboard and then never skateboard before. 30 minutes later, he's able to do a kickflip or ollie or whatever. You're like, how how can oh yeah, it was easy. I was able to do this. The guy that
Yeah.
never does anything. He's back flipping, hanging himself sideways off the horizontally off the edge of the basketball goal and things like that because of the upper body strength and the core strength. Like those people always frustrate me because I didn't have any of those physical tools. Um, but jujitsu gave me a way to like mitigate that parity a little bit. Like I don't have to be as good of
Yeah.
an athlete if I can pay attention to these little technical difficulties. I don't have to be fast if I can slow them down. I don't have to be strong if I can control, where they are strong. Things like that really kind of
Yeah.
made it where I was like, man, number one, I'll never perfect this. I'll never be the best at it. But I can really like close the gap between other athletes and other people with just the limited amount of stuff I know. And then, we compound that now over decades.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How did you get into teaching it?
I mean, I think that was just out of necessity. Since we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
a gym, we didn't have a coach. And I was like, I was relying on my friends to help coach me for MMA fights, but
Mm-hmm.
one of them did one fight. And the other ones would always say they're going to do a fight, never did a fight. So it was like, I can have you guys kind of help me out with this, with the stuff I'm not good at. There was a guy that was good at judo, so he helped me with the judo. There was a guy that was, good at striking. He'd help me with striking. There was a guy that was just tough to be my training partner. But there became that need where it's like, we need more people for us to train, because I was doing MMA and they were doing jujitsu. So it became a
Mhm.
thing where, like, the only way we're going to get better is teaching ourselves, obviously, because there's nobody here. And then that just kind of sprung up from there, and it became a thing where I feel like that's one of my. I mean, I've won some good stuff, but I feel like that's kind of my wheelhouse now, is being able to teach to a pretty wide audience for
Yeah.
a lot of different needs. And that was made because, we'd have a guy come in. I say come in. We have some people come in and, hey, let me show you this. Let me show you this. Glad you came by. And then we'd have some people walking out of that 24-hour gym that were just giant, jacked up dudes. And I was like, hey, you know how to fight? And they automatically, well, are you asking to fight you? I'm like, kinda, but, like, not really, but yes. So come in and let's try it out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
For
you'd
funsies. Yeah.
take them down and choke them, and then have to go like, all right, let me show you how to not let that happen again. So we were basically like teaching our own training partners.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are the easiest, right? To show them what it can do. Right. Yeah.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
go
for
at it.
sure.
Let me show you.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
They're the
it
most
was cool. But
surprised. Yeah.
and back then it was back then, people would refer to it like, you tell them what you did. I'm doing cage fighting. Oh, like the WWF, like the Hell in the Cell match and the Undertaker. And nope, that's not what I'm doing. But I appreciate that we're kind of cutting. So it
Yeah.
was a lot.
How did you open the place? How did that come about? How did that
So
happen?
I moved to Houston, Texas, in 2005, and then the group I was with, working out with them, like they had gone and done. Easiest way to say this, we had all had finally found someone we thought to teach us. His name was Juan Perez, and he was a purple belt. So for us, like, oh man, purple belt? Can you believe someone's a purple belt and they're here in town and they can actually teach us? You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
and he was coming in from Lubbock, Texas. He was training with another black belt that's been in Texas for a long time, and he was like, "Hey, just so you know, like, I'm not going to be a purple belt forever. I've paid for my black belt ranking." He kind of said that, which was weird. He said I've already been paying this long. I should be a black belt. People I've started with have been a black belt, so I'll be getting it soon. And if the coach doesn't give it to me, then I'm gonna sue him. And then after that, for not coming through with his end of the bargain, which is give me a black belt because give you this many thousands of dollars. And he said that from there we can just go approach another black belt and we can join their thing for ranking or whatever. Well, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I was like, cool, I'm doing MMA anyway. And then the other three guys were like, we want to grade up in this, and this is starting to sound kind of jinky. So maybe let's not go this route. So they went and did a travel camp in Brazil with Braza, Felipe Costa and Comprito and those guys. Drysdale was on the team at the time, so they were able to train with some amazing people. Damian Maya was part of the team at the time, and then they came back and they were blue belts, and they're like, we're starting our own thing. So I had moved, they started their own thing, and then um, when I was working at the sheriff's department in Houston, Hurricane Katrina happened. There was um, a lot of overflow from Louisiana criminals,
Mhm.
people that are undocumented coming over there. You didn't know their background. They just let them out of the prisons. And
Mhm.
we had a newborn baby at the time. So it was like, this is not a good place to be raising a kid right now. Let's move back home to Midland, go work at the police
Yeah.
department. So I was already in line to do that. So going to go to the police department. And I just met up with those guys when I came in to take my test for the PD. Said, hey, when I come back, if you guys want to like do something. And then we ended up starting West Texas MMA. It was the first MMA gym in Midland, Odessa area. We started that in 2006.
Mm. And how did it go? Starting out, did you have a lot of people come in, or was it kind of like took a while, or how
You
did that
know,
progress?
it took a while, but I mean, there's guys that came into that gym that still run programs today. Like they run their own programs. Clay Hance has
Oh, really?
Crazy
Okay.
BJJ in Mineral Wells. He started out with us. Jarrett Jones owns a CrossFit gym and a personal strength like a private gym in Midland, Texas. Both of those guys fought pro MMA. They fought on like televised cards on HDNet and things like that, and Access TV. So those guys were a really core group. We had Rex Richards that fought at Strike Force. I coached him for those. He was out of the gym with us. There was a really good group that was kind of coming up at that time that we were able to coach. Uh, I was strictly just teaching MMA for them. So for me, it was not being able to be really as involved as I would like to. I look back and regret a lot of that, but I was working at the police department, dealing with the absolute scum of society and like the worst people at their worst moments and some of the best people at their worst moments. And it didn't
Mm.
make me really emotionally available for like the neediness of fighters as much as I should have been.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of led to there being like the rift in that gym where it was like those guys were going to keep pushing what they wanted to. And I just started veering off over time to doing my own thing, just doing cop work, and then I would train people at the range. So then I became a head defensive tactics instructor for the police department. So I started doing that,
Got
and
it.
that was my main outlet for teaching and training because I couldn't do I didn't know how to socialize anymore. Basically, is the easiest way to say that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And why do people love it there? Why do you think people love it there and keep coming back? There's a
Um,
certain culture there, or certain
I
way
think I
you're
think
teaching.
I mean we're talking about this is now like what I'm in right now is like the fourth iteration of a gym with
Okay.
different moving parts. And I
Got
think
it.
that I think that this one
So
right
it's like a
now.
continuous evolution over time. Go
So
ahead.
basically, it was like we had it was me and just guys doing it where we're just doing something crazy and beating each other up for fun. And then it was, hey, let's start a school. And then they take the school one direction, I take myself in another. And then I got really just deep into just training with other cops and myself. And then it became
Mhm.
I need to coach normal people again because now all the cops are wearing me out, like exhausting me mentally, giving me excuses as why they don't want to do the thing that they have to do for their job. So let me teach normal people that
Got
are
it.
motivated, that enjoy this. And so then I got back to teaching like at a school format. And then now what I've got now is a really, really good community where you don't have to be the world champion, the person that's like always on the podium to get extra attention from the coach or to get like some appreciation from the coach. You don't have to be, the star athlete. You don't have to be the person that's just got the most money that can buy the coach the car every time he needs a new car or needs to do, have some new stuff done or needs a trip or whatever. Those are real things that go on in jiu-jitsu academies, and those things don't happen with us. Um, it's a really student first type of environment. And I coach people hard. I stay on their butts on stuff. I don't let them break oaths to themselves. I tell
Mm.
people training, I'm like, don't lie to your homies. We don't lie to our homies. So if you are drilling a move and someone pushes you barely and you fall over, why'd you lie to your friend just now? Because what if that person's going to do it for self
Yeah.
defense? So that's a
Right.
big thing. People really know where they stand. If they get a blue belt or purple belt, if they're just training with us and they go visit somewhere else, when they walk in, it's not like they're going to go, I hope my belt holds up in this new environment. They're just going to go in and
Got it.
train, you know? Um, and I think having a place where they know that they're getting taught to straightforward and not having
Hmm.
someone kiss their ass and bullshit them, for money, I think really goes a long way because that is something I think that's really prevalent in the culture for jujitsu.
Got it. What is if somebody asks you, like, what can jujitsu do for my life? What's your answer nowadays?
I would tell them it gives you a certain level of confidence that is that's valuable because it gives your family a level of confidence. I feel better about myself because I know that if something bad is going to happen, I'm with my wife, she's going to be taken care of. So she feels better,
Yeah.
reciprocated back towards me because she's like, I don't have a weak guy that's going to let someone come over here and walk all over us or let someone victimize us, take advantage of us. And I think for men, especially in a society like we're in today, where everything is violence is put in our face all the time. Mental health is a huge thing. You never know what someone's going through and when they might decide to take that out on the public at large. So
Yeah.
keeping yourself where you are mentally and physically acclimated to handle stress and violence is like the biggest reward for jiu-jitsu. I mean, we can say we can say you know, focus and my mental health and all that stuff. Like I think all those things are parts of feeding that caveman brain that we have. That at the end of the day, I need to know that I can physically walk
Yeah.
into a room and handle somebody else. And I think all those other things are just those positives are byproducts of that real primordial need.
Yeah. 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 And it's something that's really hit the other day. Somebody said it's like, it helps you like prevent something from happening as well. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as prevention, I mean, you definitely start being able to measure environments and size up people that are in those environments. I think with a
Mhm.
little more education and with a little
Yeah.
more humility. Like I can look at some nerd that does taxes for people for a living, and not go like, but that guy's harmless because I got some nerds at the gym that will just choke you until you die. So I don't
Yeah.
take anybody lightly. I'm not going to have anybody where I'm just going to blatantly disrespect them. Um, because there's dangerous people out there that do this for fun, and I think the fact this brings that to the forefront, so people that do this understand like I'm always in danger, and I'm always, no matter where I'm at in the world, what I'm doing, there's always going to be somebody that can get the best of me. So now I have a responsibility to be sure that it's not going to be easy for that person. I want to limit that pool of people that's dangerous to me to as small a number as I possibly can.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man, for your perspective and your cool story over the years. I'd like to wrap it up by just can you tell what would you like to tell your community there at the academy? Would you like to say anything to them? And then
Yeah.
just tell us what your socials are, that kind of thing. Are you on Facebook, that kind of stuff?
I guess a couple things. First would be like make yourself as dangerous as possible. It will make you a nicer person. I think it will make you
Yeah,
more patient person because you always know that there's a like a ladder of next steps that I can always go to, so I don't have to go from screaming and yelling at somebody, to from being chill to screaming and yelling to shooting somebody, which is unfortunately like what a lot of cops kind of go to. Like I go from like everything's fine to now I have to start punching somebody in the face. Like I think
yeah,
I think there's that ability to escalate and de-escalate is a huge value add for anybody. So that's a big deal. And I think for my students in particular, it's not about the coach. It's not about like what the coach has done. Like I've won world championships. I've placed top 3 in the world 5 other times. I've got a Pan Am silver medal. Like those things are great. I've coached people in the UFC in different countries, and I've never number one I've never been walking around in public and someone stopped me and go, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy that's got a world championship medal from the IBJJF hanging up in your gym. Can I buy you dinner?" Or
yeah,
no one's walking up and going, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy that was on pay per view for the UFC in the corner of one guy." That doesn't
yeah,
change. That doesn't change anything. What what people will get out of this is that it's more about like what you're doing on the day to day basis, and no one's ever really going to know exactly what that is and what that feels like except you, and for you to know that it works, for guys to say, message me, this is literally saved my life. Thank you so much, coach, for having the gym, because if this wasn't here, I don't know if I'd be here. I wish I could find a place like yours in the state that I'm in now. Uh, this is so, guys, hey, this is so much fun. I really enjoy it. You've really built something special. That's not me. That's not me doing any of that. That is a community
Yeah.
that learns how to work within social norms and being able to like be polite, but being polite with the caveat of, I don't have to be polite if I don't want to. Like, so there's that mutual
Right.
respect. And that is only made through not doing hero worship and trying to like play favorites and stuff. It's just the way that life really is you're going to get out of it exactly what you put into it, and it might not be what you want, but it's going to be what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. You could just help facilitate that
Yeah.
type of, mindset. Yeah.
That's all I'm there for. And I will say, like, for my students, if I had the bandwidth, I would call every single one of them up every single morning and say, hey, how'd you sleep last night? How's your morning going? What do you got planned today? When am I going to see you at the gym next? But unfortunately, like, unless I only had 5 students, I can't make that work.
Mhm.
So it's really on the people that walk in on the Monday and say, "Hey, I really want to do this." Whether it's, Joe Rogan said it's a good idea, Andy Stump says it's awesome, Jocko says I should do it, good, whatever. Wake up at 4 a.m., go lift weights, and go do jujitsu. Whatever their thing is, where they're hearing from the outside, or they're seeing something that motivates them, or they're just looking for a missing piece to the puzzle. When they walk in and say, "I need to do this," I feel like this is going to help my life out. You can't go 6 weeks and then all of a sudden decide to have a huge change, and that's not no longer going to work anymore. I think you really need to just ride this out. Give it, you got to give it 2 or 3 years before you even know if it's worth it for you or not. And that's the struggle,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. Are y'all on social media? I know you're on Facebook, right?
Yeah, I am. We're on social media. Mine is Bradley Barnes for Facebook, and Brad Gordino on Instagram, and then Midland Jiu Jitsu or Midland BJJ for Instagram and Facebook also. Really active on there with the gym every single day, showing stuff with his techniques, motivational stuff, just something funny. And as far as my personal stuff, on Instagram and my Facebook, I push a lot on military and police combatives. I think whether there are people that are serving the community or if it's people that are just civilians that want to be safe and decide that they want to take the route to carry a gun, you have a whole lot of responsibility with that, and it's not just to you and your family, and not just against the person, the perpetrator that might be catching some rounds down range, but the people that are behind them and around them in the parking lot, and the people that are going to be showing up later and asking you, why did you do that? Did you have any other choice? Did you know anything? Like, through
Right.
training experience, we can articulate that stuff very well. And we can always say, man, I've gone against people that have grabbed a hold of me and put me in immediate fear for my life in a playful environment. And this person felt like that, or I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to do this and ruin or end somebody's life and then ruin the life of all the people in their family because I had other skills that I could de-escalate to. So, for especially nowadays in the world we're living in, this is the cheat code. This is the way. This is us being modern day samurai and learning how to handle ourselves, handle our families, handle the business around us, and it's something that everybody should at the very least get exposed to, just to know where they're at in the food chain. It's cool to know you're not at the bottom, and it's also cool to see kind of where you are towards the top. And most people, when they really jump in, they really figure it out. They know they're not anywhere near there, and then that's the adventure. That's the climb to see how high I can get on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man, thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna reach out to you again, and maybe you can be on again. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have a really, really cool. I love the stuff about. I think it's really interesting, like how you went through so many iterations with the gym, right? So
Yeah.
it's I know there's been like an evolution there, and it seems like your mindset of like how you're teaching kind of has evolved as well, like what you're
Yeah.
focusing on.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
I do a lot of stuff with law enforcement, especially like when I go teach, we don't just teach them for practical application. But when we go, like typically departments, like I was just in South Dakota last month or the beginning of this month, uh, and we had guys from all different agencies. So it was Fish and Game, it was their like highway patrol, it was their PD guys, their sheriff's department guys, jailers and stuff. And what we know in those classes is those guys are not just doing it for their own personal growth and skill development. They're also going to go teach people. And so our big focus is number one, like you can't take a 5-day course and be an expert. So the only way that you're
Yeah.
going to be a teacher is to continue to be a student for life. And then also to like do a lot of instructor development training. So like not just teaching people like here's the steps that you teach someone to do. It's what goes into those steps for people based on learning styles, based on most common mistakes, uh, how to change up your training for people based on their ability to move. I mean, look at I got
Yeah.
students like myself that have like fake joints, that have been replaced. I've got a blind student that's almost 60 years old. I've got cops that are like really out of shape, but they need this and it'll help them get in shape, but they can't do all this stuff. So it's always trying to figure out a way to make it where it's digestible for every audience, as opposed to, again, like, well, this will work for him just because he's 6'2" and got a six pack and he's a college athlete. That stuff, I think that makes jujitsu not believable. If you're just a
Right.
so it's so we do a lot of instructor development and everything, and that's definitely helped out our last couple of years.
Yeah, that individualized teaching. I used to be a teacher actually a while back, and I know that comes with time. That comes with experience. You just have to, experience those things to understand the nuanced differences and how to relate to people and how to push them forward. Um, well, thank you so much, Bradley. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon. All right, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, how's it going today? You doing all right?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Can you tell everybody your first and last name, the name of the place, where you guys are, and we'll just talk about the academy, like what you guys offer, that kind of thing?
Sure, of course. My name is Justin Overstreet. Gym is called Rogue Jiu Jitsu Academy. We're located in Conroe, Texas, which is about 40 or so miles north of Houston, Texas.
My cousins lived there for
No
a while.
kidding.
Yes, I know exactly where it is. I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, it is.
How funny. Tell them to
Yeah.
come train.
Yeah, they don't anymore, but they were there for a while and they moved back home. But
Very cool.
anyways, yeah, I love Houston actually. We took a Texas trip in 2018, and it's a really cool place to visit for a family, young kids. There's a lot to do, like a vacation.
There really is. There really is.
What do you guys offer there? What kind of classes, and like age groups, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So age groups, we have kids anywhere from 5 up to, 15, 16 years old. We usually depending on their size, but usually about 14 or 15, start transitioning them into adult classes. So in some of those cases, when they're that age and a decent sized human, they can do both kids class and then adult. So they get a lot of training in. And then we also offer Muay Thai training and no-gi and gi jiu-jitsu, as well as fundamentals of jiu-jitsu.
Awesome. Okay. I've been asking this lately. What is the, you don't have to say names. What's the oldest person you've ever had there?
Oh, wow. I used to think it was me. There's actually one other person that's a bit older, but we have several people in their 50s and late 50s at this point, 56, 57 years old that are training there. One of them, actually 56 or so, just started about 3 months ago.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So of course, not everybody's watching this isn't people who train. There's a lot of people who don't train, just kind of interested, maybe Googling your city and it comes up in jiu-jitsu, that kind of thing. So I like to tell everybody, like some people are like in their 30s, thinking they're too old or something, So
right.
The oldest age we've had so far is 78. So I know there's even older.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even start training until I was 38 years old. So, and I'll be 51 this November.
Okay, got it. What's your overall kind of like philosophy in teaching jiu-jitsu? Kind of maybe something that makes you a little unique, or just kind of how you go about it?
Sure. Our philosophy really is one of just almost over communicating. I know when I started my jiu-jitsu journey 12 plus years ago, and even before that, other guys have trained before that have talked about how, generally speaking, unless you trained for a period of time, people didn't invest a lot of time into communicating with you, or at least even sharing, tips and tricks and those types of things. And so we really put a lot of effort into, whether it's day one for you or day 1000 for you, you're part of the group, and we want to have a conversation with you. We want to show you, things that work for us that maybe don't, the technique might be this specific set of moves, but my body can't do that. So this is how I've adapted to that, or, whatever. And really, more than anything, just let people know that whatever your intensity level that you want to get out of it, we'll match that and help you get wherever you want to get to. Whether you want to compete, great. We can help you with that. If you don't want to compete, there's not necessary to advance in our gym to be a competition jiu-jitsu player. It's just really, what does your better look like? I think if I had to sum it up, what does your 1% better look like each day?
Yeah. Okay. So like over communicating, individualized type of teaching. Tell me this, like, a little side shoot from that. Like, what can happen to somebody who doesn't receive that? Does that make sense? Just say like over a year's time.
Yeah, sure. I mean, anyone that's ever trained, if you jump into class and all of a sudden they're using words that are hybrid Brazilian words or whatever, it's a whole vocabulary to itself, but you're going to be lost. And if no one takes the time to, even if you're lost, just include you in the conversation, you end up feeling a bit overwhelmed and can ultimately just be like, man, somebody that would really enjoy it and benefit from it just sort of gets lost in the shuffle and ends up just selecting themselves out before they really even give it a chance, because it is really so overwhelming in the beginning. It's hard sometimes for me to think back to what day one or two looked like, but I know it wasn't comfortable, and I know that the more comfortable you can make it for somebody, the more likely they are to stick it out and to learn and to develop and become a better version of themselves through this process.
Yeah, like I'm a outsider looking in. I've never trained before, just like I told you. Can even you hit on the terminology a little bit. Can even the terminology, like the words that they're saying, sometimes it can be over somebody's head. They don't know. Does that happen? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, let's say you don't know anything at all about jiu-jitsu, and you walk into a class day one and they tell you, all right, today we're going to start by, everyone's going to work through a collar drag to a single leg takedown, finishing in De La Hiva. You're not going to have a clue what that is, and much less how to do it.
That happens.
I mean, it can. If you jump into the wrong place. So for us, it was we were very intentional about building out a system where that wouldn't happen. So we have a fundamentals class. I actually teach that, where we end up going through a lot of this stuff, and then I follow up with the guys and ladies in the class afterwards in our group me, and just be like, okay, here are the words I used today, and here's what they mean and how you kind of apply those and whatever. So we've been very intentional to ensure that doesn't happen, but it can.
Got it. You said 5 years old. Why 5 years old?
It's interesting. We do have some 4-year-olds, but most of them have an older sibling that trains with us. So that older sibling sort of keeps them in check, or they're super competitive with their older sibling and they don't want to have their older sibling doing anything they're not doing,
So they're probably going to act right or do the right things because they're competing with their sibling. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. There tends to be a little bit of that tends to make up the gap in terms of maturity. Yeah. But it's pretty remarkable, the difference in focus and just maturity level between a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old is pretty remarkable. And for us, we've just found that that's kind of our sweet spot, that, 5 is really a great age for us. But we do, like I said, we do have some 4-year-olds that actively train with us and do great. But it's just kind of, sort of individual to that kid. But we do offer a trial. And even if someone were to reach out with a 4-year-old and say, okay, my 4-year-old train, I'd be like, I tell you what, put them in the trial. It's a week long, see how they do. Yeah. If it's great. If not, wait a year. We're not going anywhere.
You're right about 5 years old. There's some, I got a 9-year-old and then I got a 3-year-old. But yeah, I remember the 5-year-old mark, and we got friends, with kids as well. Everybody was talking, something that there is something that changes. Like they're at 5, they're now like out of the toddler stage, like officially. Yeah, they're just a kid now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No more toddler. Yeah. Um, can you go back as far back as you want and kind of tell us like how you got into jiu-jitsu and how in the world you got here, right? Why did you love
Right.
jiu-jitsu so much? Why did you continue it? What was it doing for you? That kind of thing.
Well, I tell you, I love telling this story, and the people at the gym that listen to this are going to be like, I was telling that story again. But I started because my youngest daughter, when she was 9 years old, watched, she's 20 years old now. She's almost 21 in February. She'll be 21. But she saw Ronda Rousey fight and was like, I want to do that. And I was like, cool. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm good with it. At that time, I wasn't training at all. I had not done any type of martial arts in my life. I was 37, 38 years old, something like that. 38.
Okay.
Anyhow, she starts training and doing really, really well and then starts competing. And she was at a tournament and got stuck underneath a girl, lost the match because she couldn't get out from that position, right? She got grounded and couldn't get up. And the girl didn't submit it or anything. She just sort of finished the round dominant and just won on points. So sometime after that, like a few hours after that, we were eating, and I just made the comment to my daughter. Again, she's 9 years old. I said, you can't get stuck there. You got to get up. And this kid, man, she challenged me. She looked at me and she said, I'm not trying to be rude, but you don't train. So you don't know how hard that is, what you're asking me to do. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? You're right. I said, so this was like a Saturday. And I said, okay, cool. You're right about that. And that's fair. I said, so Monday, I'll start. And she goes, really? I said, yeah. So Monday walked in. I had a guy that I probably outweighed by about 50 pounds, and he hadn't trained long.
Can we
6
pause
months.
1 second? I don't have to do it, but I want to ask you something. Like as a father, and how old was she at that point?
She's like 9.
9, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm 40, so we're almost the same. My son's 9.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is like close to me, right? Okay, at that point, it sounds like you weren't even considering any kind of martial arts in any way until your daughter got into this, and it just kind of happened, right? So my question is kind of like if somebody's watching this and they're kind of like in my shoes almost, they have kids and they're not even thinking about. What was that like as far as like including it? Was it hard to include it like time wise, or how did you go about that?
Well, actually,
Like
no,
fitting it
because
into your busy schedule. Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So for me, it actually was not that bad because she was already up there training, 3 to 4 times a week. And the classes, like she would be up there already. And then my class would be just after hers. So we would just stay there together and then I'd bring her home, whatever. So for me, the scheduling wasn't that terrible.
Yeah. If the scheduling in a place where you can go is back to back, it works perfectly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It can, for sure.
Is the case. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It is at our gym too. But yeah, no, it is a real consideration, but really it didn't even enter my mind because like I said, we were already up there anyway. And then as far as me not ever considering training anything like this, I really hadn't. I liked watching the UFC. I liked doing that stuff, but I always considered myself someone that could take care of myself. Like I'd been in some fights and nothing really had happened to me. I was okay. I'd lost some, but not so badly that I thought, man, I suck. So I didn't really think anything about it. And, like I said, I walked in that Monday, started class, a guy that I probably outweighed 50 pounds. And again, he wasn't that much of a trained human. He'd like 4 months, 5 months at the most. This guy held me down for 5 minutes clean. And I could not move. And I remember getting sort of claustrophobic and all these things and start thinking like, it's over with. I'm like, that can't happen in real life. So I better figure this out. And so that started. And here we are 12 in January. It'll be 13 years later. And I just didn't stop because I thought, man, I can't have this be something that could actually happen. And then as I progressed in it, learned more and more that, the most people don't do this. And so they have no concept what can happen if they come across someone that does.
Okay. So it was like a wake up call. Yeah.
It really was.
It was a really real painful wake up call that happened. And that's what made you want to continue to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And plus the camaraderie. I mean, you start getting to interact with other guys that are on somewhat of a similar path as you. And and I don't know about you, but like my job is not one where I, I'm not swinging sledgehammers and stuff. I stand at a desk all day and work on a computer and do those types of things. And so for me, it was a way to
Yeah.
then get to also be doing things that were more, physical and harder and mentally exhausting and all of these other things.
Yeah. Well, of course, it relates to me. Making films and
Yeah,
doing
sure,
podcasts.
right,
So
right.
of course,
Of
I'm on
course.
the phone and the camera all the time, right? So yes,
Correct.
100%. Um, so how did you get into teaching? How did that come about?
So started off training in Fort Worth and had some outstanding people I worked, trained with there. Sam Snow, who is an Alliance black belt. He was my last coach before I left Fort Worth. We moved from Fort Worth in 2018, moved to the Houston area. And before I left, I was like, "Hey, Sam, do you know any places I could train in Conroe when we moved there?" And he was like, "Absolutely. You need to go train at Matt Wilson." And the gym at the time was called Presa, Presa. And I didn't even consider anything else. The gym was like literally 5 minutes from the house that we were buying. And so I was like, cool, perfect. So I went to the gym and been there ever since. So as far as teaching goes, I didn't really start teaching at all until probably late purple belt stage. And it was more like Matt, the head coach, would be like, "Hey, I'm not going to be there for the 5:30 in the morning class. Could you handle it?" Sure. And just kind of started doing that. And again, this predates even gym ownership for me by 3 or 4 years. So it's just, helping the gym out and wanting the gym to be successful because I loved the people that were there and the culture that was there. And that was my gym. So I wanted to do everything I could to make it possible.
Did you enjoy teaching or
Yeah.
what was like that?
My real job is in health, safety, environmental, has been for 20 something years. I do a lot of talking and teaching, and that just as a result of that profession. So doing that wasn't uncomfortable for me in terms of speaking in front of the group of people. But what became horribly and painfully evident was that you're telling people how to do something. So you really better know how to do that thing. And it was really a challenge for me because, that imposter syndrome and all these things, every time I've gotten a belt in jiu-jitsu, I've thought I'm not that guy. And then all of a sudden you are that guy and you've got to tell other people how to do something. It just really kind of ramped the stakes up for me a bit. I wasn't uncomfortable teaching at all. I was more worried I was going to tell somebody something wrong with the subject matter. And so that just took getting comfortable with,
Yeah. I want to go back to like when you first started at that age and having, a kid and was it also like a social thing for you as well? Because of course, a lot of parents, they just don't get the social hour at all anymore at that age. When their kids are maybe 9-year-old, it gets better, but but there's a certain time period where there's like almost no time for social hour. Was that an added element to your life?
I mean, obviously it was nice. But at that time we already had friends and church and all other things as well. So, that wasn't the big driver for me, but obviously it is a nice add-on to get to kind of hang out with people that, again, like have similar interests, and you're all doing something extremely hard and none of you have any real experience doing it. So you're all sort of at a similar place trying to figure this whole thing out together,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you opened the place, what was the biggest driving factor with that? Why did you want to do that? And do you feel like you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah, I really do. And I mean, I can go as in depth as you want to into it, but when we looked at the gym back in 2024, it was a place I had been training jujitsu, talking about the gym that we have now. I'd been there since 2018. So from 2018 to 2024, all the way through COVID, all those things, everything survived, everything was good. But the gym was starting to really noticeably become sort of stale and just not really growing. And it just sort of felt like it was dying. You know what I mean? It's just sort of kind of this slow, progressive, like they were just sort of existing. Nothing's really happening. It just wasn't great.
Yeah.
It was kind of a stale air, I walked in the gym one day and one of the other owners with me now, his name's Richard Villar. He and Matt. So Matt Wilson was one of the original owners. He's one of the founders of the gym as well. And then he and another person owned the gym 50-50. Matt was classic jiu-jitsu coach. I just want to do jiu-jitsu and coach jiu-jitsu. And you, other partner, handle all of the business stuff. And, obviously the business side of it had been kind of faltering a bit. Not to go into so much detail, that it's boring, but at the end of the day, really kind of figured out there wasn't a ton of follow-up happening to people that were reaching out to the gym. Anyway, I walk in the gym one day, Richard and Matt are in the locker room having a conversation. I was not a part of it. And all of a sudden Richard turns and looks at me and says, "You wouldn't be interested in trying to buy out Matt's partner, would you?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, maybe. Depend on pricing and all that stuff, but maybe." And whatever. As just that, literally that casual conversation happened early June. And by June 19th of 2024, we had negotiated and bought out that partner. Part of that was after we finished buying the partner out, I said, "Now, I don't like the name of the gym." At that time, they were trying to build a whole social presence and everything off of this brand new name, MAC Mixed Martial Arts. And I was like, quit doing that. Do something somewhat catchy, better, more aggressive logo, all of these things. So I said, okay, here we are, June, say, call it 20th. And I was like, I want to relaunch, rebrand, new website, new everything. We'll do everything by July 1. And they were like, cool. So from that point to July 1, we rebranded to what we are today, which is Rogue Jiu-Jitsu Academy. Put the Corinthian helmet, the whole thing, right? Did all of that stuff, the color scheme, all of those things. And to put it in perspective for you in terms of the growth of the gym, and again, I don't think that we've done anything special other than treat people like you should treat people when they're asking questions about something that they're already probably pretty nervous about trying to start. Just really try to learn what their motivation is and treat them truly like they are integral to your gym, because they are. When we bought the gym, we had 56 members. As we talk today, we have 160 members. So, triple the size in 2 years, almost exactly. And again, like I said, that's a testament to treating people the way you should treat them. And then the members telling other people, "Oh, you think about doing this? You need to have your kid train here, or you need to train here, or your family needs to train here." We have several families that train, and that's always super rewarding for me to watch an entire family together, get in there and really do things together that are super difficult to do.
Yeah. It's almost like having a sports team together or something. It's just one of those. It's something that but it's even more because you're doing something that's painful, that's hard. You're working towards something. You're working for something.
Right.
What?
Right. And
go ahead.
It's interesting to me to watch, especially people with younger kids. And I tell dads this all the time. It's super important for your kid to see you doing something that you're not good at, or that's hard. They see you having a difficult time figuring something out, because that tells them that's life, that can happen. And it never stops happening. And so just embrace the opportunity to stretch yourself and grow. And I think that's super important for kids to see.
Yeah. Because that never happens in life. Kids don't see not a whole lot,
Yeah, rarely do they see their parent without the answer, right?
Yeah, or the degree at least of hard times or whatever, or them going through something. So what has jiu-jitsu? Can you tell everybody just kind of what's the biggest thing it's done for your life, and what can it do for other people if somebody asks you what it can do for them?
For me personally, like I said, I'll be 51 in November. And from a physical standpoint, I've never been in better shape in my entire life. I'm stronger mentally, my mental health, all of those things are great, but if you're it depends on what where you are in life, but at the very least, it's physically going to get you in a place that you haven't been maybe ever. And then from there, the mental aspect of it is, in my mind, unmatched. I've done all kinds of sports, and I never could get really into lifting weights because I just never really liked doing it. But that said, from a mental perspective, showing up to a Jiu Jitsu class or a Muay Thai class, for those couple of hours that you're there, the only thing on your mind is either not getting kicked or hit, or not getting choked, unconscious, or your limbs snapped off. You can't focus on anything else because you're also trying to do that to somebody else. So you've got 100% of your mental focus on trying to implement whatever you're trying to solve, and trying to solve for them not implementing that against you. So it's really just crazy, crazy exhausting mentally. But not only that, physically, there's not a better workout, to be honest.
Do you think that like the constant mental focus that jiu-jitsu requires, then leading to you not being able to think about anything else, do you think that gives you clarity and the other stuff when you're done rolling? Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. No, it definitely, for me,
Like a mental reset almost?
For sure. So the 5:30 morning class for me is one of those where it really is pretty visceral after that. You get done with that, you come home, you shower, and I work from home. So I just then come up to my office and then start work for the day, and people will call you with their problem. And you're like, I just had a 280-pound brown belt just pick me up. Like literally he's a bear. And so this problem's not a big deal. Let's solve that, And so it's not it gives you for me, it gives me the confidence knowing that, hey man, I've already done probably what's going to be physically the hardest thing I've got to do today. And,
okay, right.
and mentally I had to get into a place to do that is unique. So the rest of my day is kind of a cakewalk, and you just kind of work through that. So I do believe that it helps me not necessarily reset, but place it in the proper frame of reference.
Yeah. And I mean, it is unique to other kinds of like workouts, running, cycling, whatever, gardening, woodworking,
Sure.
in the fact that you cannot think of anything else at the time that you're doing it. Right.
No, you're literally sitting there. You're literally walking to the gym going, I'm basically going to wrestle another human being multiple times, multiple different types of body types and skill sets and whatever, for the next couple hours. And sometimes you just don't mentally feel like you're there, but you just got to do it, and you just got to push through.
Well, thanks so much for your cool story. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know somebody's going to relate, and can you wrap it up by just what would you tell your community there in Conroe?
At the
what
gym?
would you tell them
in Conroe
about jiu-jitsu? Yeah.
Whether you train with us or you train with someone else, just train. I think it's important that everyone does, especially, to my point earlier, like it's important for your family, for your kids to see you do difficult things, especially as men. If all they ever see you do as a man is, just what you do for a living, which most kids, in my experience, don't even have a clue what that entails. But let's just say that what you do for a living, if that's what they see you do, but they never see you sweating, or they never see you bleeding, or they never see you just dealing with something that you physically cannot overcome. And then they see you progress and become able to overcome that physically and mentally. I don't think there's a greater gift you can give your kids. And so I would encourage anyone to say, either train with us or train somewhere else, because there are plenty of options out there, but just do hard things and let that be seen by your family and by your kids and by your community, that you've embraced the opportunity to challenge yourself and do something that's extremely difficult, and you're better for it.
Thank you, man. Can you tell everybody your socials and your website?
Absolutely. So our website is Rogue BJJ TX. So ROGUE BJJTX.com. And our Instagram handle is the exact same, Rogue BJJ TX. Facebook, you could look us up as, Rogue Jiu Jitsu Academy. Don't really have a Twitter account, or X, I guess it's called now. And then, but yeah, any of that stuff, you can get information about the gym, how to sign up for our trial, any of those things. And then beyond that, I can tell you that if you fill out a form online, a contact us form, it comes to me directly. So you'll be receiving a response. I don't have AI bots set up to answer and all of that. And my wife's asked me, why don't I utilize that more? And I was like, well, because where I would set the handoff point for that is so early in the process, I might as well just answer it.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I feel like it's important.
Well, me reaching out to you.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's how you connected, right? So you sent me a direct message
Easy
and I
to
responded right
communicate.
back. For sure.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time today, and I'll be reaching out to you soon. And I hope you have a great day today. Right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to being able to share our story with everybody here.
Okay. You take care. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.